Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch, one of the more Zionist rabbis in the Reform movement, expressed great anxiety over the current government during an interview with the Jerusalem Post. According to him, the current government operates like the Antichrist. Is it true? So what is Benjamin Netanyahu doing that many people are unaware of? Join us as we dig further into this topic on the Unknown Facts. For the past 3 decades, Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch's professional life has been spent at the center of the relationship that exists between Israel and the Jewish people all over the world. Never before has he felt the same level of anxiety and concern for that relationship as he does right now. Never. Not even close. There has been nothing that even comes close, he remarked. Hirsch, who is on the more conservative side of the philosophy of the Reform movement when it comes to matters of religion, is quoted as saying that it is not for anyone outside of any democratic society to select who the leaders are going to be. It is reserved solely for the people who were born and raised in that particular nation. Everyone else outside the country is responsible for accepting the results and making an effort to collaborate with the newly elected government. Despite this, Israel is not like other democratic nations in many respects. According to Hirsch, there is a link between international Jewry and Israel that is unlike any other. It is not merely the relationship that American individuals would have for the French government, for example, over a domestic policy. World Jews and Israeli Jews have a unique relationship. From a theological standpoint, they are in covenant, and from a historical perspective, inseparably connected to one another in perpetuity. The idea is that people who define themselves as being religious or orthodox would willingly, openly, and with their eyes wide open, either not, because it is a fundamental religious obligation to love one's fellow Jews and to work toward the continued unity of the Jewish people. We have entered into a mutually binding agreement. Israel, according to its own self-definition, is home to our people, the people of Israel, and so as a result of that special relationship that Israel regards itself as part of, and even demands of world Jewry, world Jews have the right to criticize Israel's behavior. He continued by saying, in certain respects, Israel itself concedes that the stakes that we have in Israeli policies are considerably deeper than what we would have said if we were criticizing some European or American policy. The Jewish people throughout the world have a significant contribution to make, and it is imperative that Israel listen to their perspectives. Hirsch is a former executive director of Association of Reform Zionists of America and currently serves as the senior rabbi of the Stephen Wise Free Synagogue. He is the son of the late Rabbi Richard G. Hirsch, who was the founder of the Religious Action Center in Washington for the Reform Movement and a former executive director of the World Union for Progressive Judaism. He also served as a World Union for Progressive Judaism executive director. Regarding the policies of the incoming administration, Hirsch stated, "As you are well aware, I have been a Zionist my entire life. It is not merely an intellectual viewpoint. Rather, it is one that originates in the heart. From a theological point of view, it is beyond the realm of possibility that we would attempt to sever the ties that bind Israel and American Jewry together. The idea that people who define themselves as being religious or orthodox would willingly, openly, and with their eyes wide open either not care about this relationship or take steps to break it or to damage it is just beyond my ability to comprehend." Hirsch said the following in regard to American Jews. "The voices that are emerging as the likely coalition partners will demolish the relationship, and it will damage the connection to the point that it will take years to recover it even if the government doesn't serve its entire term. Because many of the viewpoints advocated by the religious Zionist party, by those from Otzma Yehudit and, it goes without saying, Noam, are incompatible with the concept that American Jews have of what Judaism is. In addition, he stated that these concerns will speed up the separation that we are already witnessing. This will hasten the process for future generations. Already at this point, we are having a hard time maintaining this relationship as a whole and ensuring that younger Jews remain engaged in the Israel diaspora bond. But there is no way that younger American Jews will feel the way that we want them to feel about Israel if Israel annexes the West Bank, if it overturns the independence of the judicial system, if it deports Israeli Arabs whom they consider disloyal to the state, if Israel is represented by people who are Kahanists that want to change the law of return and to disqualify non-Orthodox converts, If Israel will decide to abolish the grandfather, then we have a significant issue on our hands. In addition, he emphasized the following: there is no way that the American Jewish community or American society will accept deeply homophobic statements, let alone measures and policies. Even if they are not successful in changing the policy, all they do is agitate, and these are the messages coming from Israel's elected representatives. According to Hirsch, actions of this nature will result in catastrophic devastation because Jews in the U.S. and throughout the majority of the Western world will not tolerate them. So what do Ben Gvir and David Duke have in common? Recently, Rabbi Rick Jacobs, president of the Union of Reform Judaism, made the following statement: appointing Itamar Ben-Gvir as public security minister is like appointing David Duke, head of the KKK, to be attorney general. Since there was no dialogue with the movements themselves, Hirsch took part in a delegation that was organized by Ron Dermer, who served at the time as Israel's ambassador to the U.S. Dermer's mission was to facilitate meetings between Reform and conservative American rabbis and Benjamin Netanyahu, who served at the time as Israel's prime minister. How can these groups be able to now have a discussion and a relationship with Netanyahu during the sixth government that Netanyahu will lead when all the parties in the coalition, with the exception of the Likud, are against any connection with them? Hirsch did not provide an answer to the question directly, but he did say, "I believe I represent both in tone as well as in content the mainstream Reform Jewish approach." With this statement, Hirsch may have been alluding to the fact that the leadership of the Union for Reform Judaism is out of step with the rest of the movement. This is something that everyone in my congregation is aware of. In New York City, this much is certain to me, and despite the fact that I haven't conducted any actual research, I have a strong intuition that what I'm going to tell you reflects and represents the majority of our movement at this point in time. Hirsch highlighted that what he had stated is very painful, and that it originates from a position of the deepest love and the deepest worry for the Jewish future, as well as the future strength and sustainability of the State of Israel. In addition, Hirsch expressed his belief that the current circumstance has the potential to undermine the support that Israel enjoys from the U.S. in the long run. There will be a decrease in the number of Jewish people who support Israel, and those Jews who do support Israel won't just be fewer in number. They won't be as passionate about their support either. In contrast to the assertions made by Dermer during his tenure as ambassador, Hirsch stated, "Despite the contention that some people in Israel have that evangelical Christians are more reliable than American Jews, it is untrue. If you want to shake up the basis of the favorable Israel-American bilateral relationship, you need to work on weakening the American Jewish community. American Jews are an essential part of the connection." In addition, he stated that to have these extremely radical people speaking for Israel will give rocket fuel to Israel's opponents in America, who are, in any case, gaining power. There will be a significant strengthening of Israel's detractors, and there will be an increase in the number of critics in positions of political power and influence. They will be stronger regardless of what other people do, and it is in our best interest for them not to be reinforced. Even though the leaders of these parties have been democratically elected, and even though they are allowed to govern, they are not required to enact policies that are detrimental to Israel in the eyes of the world's Jewish community. That is up to them to decide. Your ability to rule is not being called into question by anyone. I talk with utmost caution since we share a love and a future together, and I am concerned about the potential outcomes of putting into practice the policies that they discuss. Over the years, Netanyahu has referenced Hirsch's work in a number of his speeches both in Israel and the U.S. In my experience with Netanyahu as a person, I've always observed him to be concerned about the relationship with the Jewish community all over the world. He makes an effort to say the correct things, and even when he changes his position, as he did about the arrangement at the Kotel, I get the idea that he believes that the decisions he made were political necessities and not his choice. I have no doubt that given the opportunity and the authority to do so, he would have carried out those actions with the intention of preserving Jewish cohesion. After all, it was him who originally said it. Hirsch stated that Netanyahu is well aware of the risks that exist for Israel in general, on a daily basis, to maintain a strong bilateral relationship with the USA. This is in addition to the risks that arise when extremists are in government. My ability to suggest anything pales in contrast to his ability to both know what to do and then carry it out, so I am actually not offering anything. Of course, he is a superb politician, and so I am actually not proposing anything. To put it more simply, I'm making an appeal to Netanyahu as someone who believes in the significance of the State of Israel and the cohesiveness of the Jewish people, to prevent the worst possible outcome from occurring. Whatever historical relationship American Jews may have had with Prime Minister Netanyahu, he is the last brick in the wall. After him, the flood, if he is unable to try to stop it. This is true regardless of who they were or what they believed about him. It's almost as if, over the course of all these years, we've been able to keep the water at bay. Something fundamental has shifted in the American Jewish community as a direct result of the anticipated ascent to power of these extremist groups. So, is this a wave of anti-Israel agitation? Hirsch said he and his colleagues are no longer convinced that they can fight back this tsunami of anti-Israel agitation, which is coming from both components of anti-Zionism emanating from within the American Jewish community, as well as widespread anti-Israel sentiment across American society as a whole. The danger in the Jewish community is not on the anti-Zionists. It is from those who are distancing themselves from Israel because they feel that there is no longer any kind of common connection and a common set of values that bind us together. The danger in the Jewish community is not on the anti-Zionists. That is not a joke. It is not coming from people who are anti-Zionist. Rather, it is coming from people who are just pulling away because they have nothing in common. We have been successful in keeping that secret all of these years. If we don't take the most drastic measures we possibly can to halt it, I'm afraid that this dam is going to burst. But some Christian leaders are calling Netanyahu as anti-Christian. On the first night of the big evangelical media summit, a top Christian leader warned the new Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the coalition he is trying to put together to be careful. Bueller told about 180 Christian reporters and influencers at the 6th Annual Christian Media Summit, which was put on by the Israeli government, that Christians are a little bit worried about some of the coalition partners that are coming into the government, because they have said some not nice things about Christians in the past. Bueller is the head of the International Christian Embassy of Jerusalem. In the past, Ben-Gvir defended Bentzi Gopstein, the leader of the radical anti-assimilation group Lahava. According to the Jerusalem Post, Gopstein has led violent protests against both Christian and Messianic events, and once said that Israel should send all of its Christians away. As a lawyer, Ben-Gvir also defended a man who was found guilty of arson in 2015 for setting fire to the Roman Catholic Church of Loaves and Fishes, also known as the Church of the Multiplication at Tabgha, on the northwest shore of the Sea of Galilee. Netanyahu has good relationships with most American evangelicals. In a video message to Christians United for Israel in 2017, he said that they were some of Israel's strongest allies. Since the coronavirus pandemic, this is the first time that the annual conference has been held, and people from about 30 countries around the world have come to take part. So that was all about the video. Hope you find it informative. Then do subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and press the bell icon for more updates like this.